I'm Dan Ferguson. I'm going to be walking through a really kind of overview of AR for Good. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about our company, but really kind of dig into 3 or 4 productions that we've done that we pulled for this presentation. So again, I'm Dan. I'm one of the co-founders of Groove Jones. I'm an ex-creative director, so I can think creatively. I am a creative person. So a lot of times I'm working with our clients to uh, understand what their needs are, what they're looking to do, and then because I've been doing this for a long time, I'm able to make recommendations and suggestions based on any of the technologies that we're working with. If I've got to do a deeper dive where I've got to get an engineer on a call, I'll definitely do that. But really at a high level, I'm probably more on the creative, strategic side, business development for the organization and onboarding clients and getting them set up to succeed. Groove Jones, we've been around for a long time, going into our 9th year coming up. We're based here in Dallas, Texas. We've got, I think, about 55, 60 people on staff. So we're a good sized studio. And we like to win awards. At last count, we're almost to 200 awards now. So the cool thing is that WebAR has really allowed us to do some really, really cool things and kind of push that bubble, that creative bubble, and try to do the never been done before. So it's really a great opportunity to do that, even with nonprofits and even for good. I'm going to take one step back and go like, how did I get here? So if you look at this slide right here, this is like the past 20 years of my career and my business partners. You know, I used to build a bunch of mobile apps and a bunch of online games. Remember Flash? If anybody remembers Flash, tons of online game and interactive experiences. And then my business partner was doing a lot of location-based experiences. He was actually the technical creative director behind the Simpsons ride, the Minion ride, visual effects for movies. Like, how did we get there to what we're doing now, WebAR? Well, a lot of this was really based in 3D, interactivity, user experiences, location-based experiences, user engagement. It all informed us and helped us to where we are now. And then if you kind of roll to what we do now, is over the last decade, our studio has been focused in a lot of virtual reality, a lot of augmented reality, whether it's WebAR or it's app-based experiences. We do a lot of fan engagements and marketing experiences through that. WebGL is, I never thought I'd build another website again, but 2 or 3 years ago, WebGL really kind of became a powerful tool that we were really happy with. So to be able to display and show fully interactive 3D things and objects and engage pieces, we love it. We use a lot of it right now. And then we do a lot of advanced computing like AI and machine learning components to it. I swear this is the last slide about us. We work with a lot of well-known brands out there. And so today we're talking about AR for Good. We're talking about working with nonprofits. We do work with some nonprofits. And so we find that it's a delicate balance of what we do as a company, to where we want to be able to, we want to grow the business. That's why we work with a lot of big brands, but we also have a lot of passion projects. And so for us, working on, a campaign for good, or even working with some nonprofits, they're open to, what we can do for them or what you could do for them. And so a lot of times working with a large organization, you may not be able to push certain things, but with a nonprofit or even an AR for Good campaign, you might have some leverage to be able to explore and push those boundaries. So we call them passion projects. If there's something that we can get behind, I'm going to talk about 4-H and STEM. That's something that we're really passionate about. We're really passionate about science, engineering, math. technology. So for us, a lot of STEM related projects, some people would not want to work on them. We love it. We just think we may be geeks, but we think that there's always something cool you can do with that. So I'll go and move forward into 4-H. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with 4-H, but you might recognize that the clover. It's a federal program, and basically 4-H, you'll probably see it in a lot of high schools, a lot of public school systems. It's a program for students to develop citizenship, leadership, responsibilities, and life skills. It's a program really around, positive youth development. All of these, I guess originally it started out as an agricultural focused program, which that's how it was when I was in high school. 4-H was all about, cattle and farming and, raising animals. But now it's really radically different. They have a huge STEM program that, surprised us. So they reached out to us, gosh, maybe eight or 9 months ago, maybe 10 months ago. They realized that they wanted to create educational pieces that they can connect with students. And so it became part of their curriculum. And they actually worked with Eighth Wall about getting onboarded. Eighth Wall made a recommendation for us to talk to them. And it's a great program. So they create curriculum that they bring into the schools. And when a certain educational piece can leverage AR, we're not going to force AR. AR needs to be purposeful. But when it can leverage AR in a meaningful way, we'll do it. And so what we do is we'll build a program that's attached to their educational needs, work with their team, their educators, and make sure we're accomplishing what their curriculum is about, and then build it out and develop it. So the first one I'm going to talk about was a program that trying to teach students what data is. What is data? Like what does it look like? People really didn't understand, the idea from a kilobyte to a gigabit or gigabyte to a terabyte. Like, what does that mean? And so the curriculum was really good. It was to kind of teach students to understand what data is, and what it potentially, like, what's the difference between a photo or a video game or something like that. And so, they wanted to leverage AR. And so our team put together some concepts, and generally, we may write out a concept, we may sketch out a concept to help, tell the story. And then we present that to whoever our clients are. At this time it was 4-H. And that's where they usually will pick an idea. We may not do full proofs of content, or we may not do any kind of MVP product to show what we're trying to do. We try to explain it. We try to do boards or static frames for people to understand what we're trying to create here before we start engineering. And so in this program, they promote it on their website. It's part of their educational pieces that you could download. And then they have supplies that you may need for the program. It will have step-by-step elements for you to do. It may have a PDF with printouts that you may go through this particular piece of curriculum. But for this one, it was really focused on representing what data means and how the internet works. And so part of this was, the fun thing was, taking a bit and then increasing that up to a byte and then visualizing that, because that's the one thing that AR is great for. AR it visualizes something in 3D that is aware of my world, so it looks like it's there, and people are to better understand what we're talking about. And so we went from bit to a byte. When you have 8 bits, that becomes a byte. And then, what does a kilobyte look like, and how does that come around? And so what is, a kilobyte is 1,024 bytes. And so or 8,192 bits. And so we're showing this as it grows. And then, because it's AR, I could dissect it and I could expand upon it. So it was really kind of cool that people are playing with data, which you really don't physically see, but we're representing it now in a 3D form. And so kids can understand how it grows. Can it get big as a house or big as a bread box? Absolutely. So this is a quick video to show how kids were working with it. Let me launch it real quick. I'm gonna make sure you can hear the audio.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You can, okay. We kind of see how it transforms up all the way up to a gigabit. I don't think we did a terabyte. And then they'll release it on their website, and then they'll blast it out to the schools, and then students will go through that. A lot of times we'll create a sizzle video or a video to help tell the story. Sometimes they'll use that to help promote it. But easy for people to get on. For this one, so this was talking about how do satellites work. So how does internet satellite technology work? And again, right here, you'll see, so this piece of work was really geared to grades 9 through 12. And so each program is assigned to their different age groups. So that's something that we take into consideration. But for this, it was to visualize, okay, like how does a satellite actually deliver internet to people around the world? And so part of this experience was to, and let me take one step back. So you'll see how does satellite internet work, and then down below it'll be brought to you by HughesNet. So a lot of times working with a nonprofit or maybe even something for good, it may be sponsored by somebody, and that's okay. And so in here, we are taking some leads from HughesNet. HughesNet does a lot of satellite and internet delivery. So it is part of their messaging, but this is all about showing people how it works. And so we often have to integrate a brand, but you'll notice it's not a commercial. It's still this educational piece. So for this one, we were really kind of exploring the fundamentals of how a satellite works and what the components are to it. So for this one, people can launch the web experience. They drop a planet Earth, and then as we tap through and move through it, we show all the different components to what's in space, like what are the pieces to the satellite, reflectors or thrusters. And then we also talk about what happens on the ground, down to what like the gateways that are the satellite dishes down below. So it's really kind of cool too that you're seeing this happen in real time. You're visualizing it. They can walk around the Earth. They can see the different components. Even here under the solar arrays, we're also then supporting with some other graphics showcasing, look, this thing is like 2 semi trucks long. It's 50 feet wide, what the actual size is. And then we did make a mode to where if I flipped a switch, I'm not seeing the camera pass through, but I'm actually now dropping a 360 pano of space. So now I see the Earth as it is in space and the galaxies around it. And so it really kind of helps tell the story, not in my real world, but now I'm seeing it, what it looks like in space. Same technology, same experience, but just with a simple switch, we were able to turn it into space. And that's something that the client had requested. I'll play a quick video on how this one went. This video was actually one that they developed. And so this was highlighting one of their students and who they were. And so they'll use this video to promote it. They'll promote it through all their socials, through their own video channels. And, it helps get the word out. But again, this stuff will be on their site. I think we are now into our fourth or fifth experience with them. This will all reside on their website. And we're just building out their library of AR experiences that they're using. So been a great partner, great team to work with. So this is a really cool program here. This is what I would call, it's an AR mural, but it was for HEB. HEB is a grocery company here in the United States. They're based in Texas. So if you've ever heard of HEB, you're probably down south. But they also own Central Market, which is a really upscale organic and fine foods retailer. But HEB, every year they do sustainability campaigns, and this year they were creating a series of documentaries that were produced that are focused on plant and wildlife in Texas. And so this was a series of short films, all shot, here in Texas, highlighting these animals that are native to Texas. And so this was all part of their sustainability campaign. And what they wanted to do was highlight and promote the documentary series, which is really, part of their messaging too, is how they are so focused on Texas because they're a local grocery store company. So for this, we did a series of murals, AR murals. And what's an AR mural? So AR murals are generally, it's a mural, billboard mural. We've done a bunch of these. We create the artwork that is then placed, at various locations. And then we use AR to bring those murals to life. And usually these murals will have, they'll have a message, and then they'll have a QR code that anybody walking along traditionally on pedestrian routes, that they can scan a QR code, and they're usually kind of blown away when they see this beautiful animation. One of the cool things that we've noticed on pretty much every single AR mural that we've done, this mural will come to life, and it may be, let's just say it's 15 to 20 seconds of animation. Well, it also has music, it also has sound. And so as people are watching it, we'll loop it. And so usually the murals come to life, and then they'll either transition back to the original image, or it'll just start over from the animation. And what we found is, people don't watch it just once or twice. They may watch it like 8 or 9 or 10 times. So for a 30-second commercial spot, people are watching the murals. They could be watching it for 2 or 3 minutes. So that's considered a really long dwell time, which a marketer loves, because the more time you spend with a brand or message, the more you're going to learn about it, the more you're going to remember it. And so creating those longer dwell times is our job is we've got to create something that's captivating and interesting or magical. We use magic all the time, or special. It's got to be special that will cause a person to watch this. So this is super cool. So we worked with the Lightship VPS system, which if any of you know about it, it allows us to position and create AR experiences out in the public, and that it's locked there. And we can obfuscate things in front of you. So if there's something in front of the mural, I can put a physical thing in front of it, or I can use interesting shapes to attach the graphics to it. So this is the mural. This is what you would see if you walked up and saw it on a street corner. They also did it online. So we had a couple different versions of the AR experience, because you want to kind of think about how it's being used, but really how are other ways they can extend this. So we had it on a street corner. And the cool thing about this was it was on a street corner, like it was on a wrapped building. So we had multiple sides to deal with. And if anybody's done image tracking, you really want a flat surface that I could visually see the image at all times and always have that in my camera view. Well, what the VPS system allowed us to do was do this at an angle. So I could have the fish and the bear coming off the screen and stepping down onto the ground, which is pretty magical. And even where the fish that has fallen out of the view of the mural is on the ground flopping around, and the baby bear comes down, well, I guess that's a cub, would then paw at the fish, which is actually one of the fish we're highlighting in the sustainability documentary. But then the fish flops back into the river, which was cool. So this highlighted the bears, the fish. You'll see the ocelot in the tree. That's the third animal. And then the bats. So you'll notice the experience launches with the bears looking around, and you'll notice all these bats kind of fly off out of the mural into the sky. And then the action of the mama bear and the baby bear, the cub, interact with the fish. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is really cool. And this is the actual audio that you would see as well. And then it goes back to the static version of it. So again, it was like it's a 20-second animation. And what we're seeing is people will watch it again and again and again. And even when I went out on site, you could walk up to the mural and look in the water and look at the bears as they're standing on the ground. So it's a lot of fun. I'll play it one more time because there's a lot of little animations in there that you should try to be aware of. Let me see if I play this real quick. So see how some of the bats flew out of the board and then they fly back in. So in order to make something like this work, we had to purposely build it for that street corner. So we had to measure how far down, where the ground was. If this mural was 2 feet higher, then the bear would have been 2 feet off the ground. So production-wise, it became more complicated. It wasn't a standard mural because we were using the ground as part of the effect. So I hope you can appreciate that. I'll talk a little bit about our process. This is at a high level. So again, we focus in on a lot of traditional methods in software development because this is software development. A lot of the times we begin with really aligning with the client on what we're building. So that's really kind of our experience alignment or planning with a client. What are we building? And so we may workshop with them because they may not understand what AR is, what the capabilities are. They just think it's going to programmatically work. It doesn't really work that way. A lot of times we have to educate a client of this is what it is. This is what it's used for. This is what good things it can do. These are things that it's not great at. So we have to align with that. Whether or not we do a proof of concept or an MVP product, it really matters in the scale of larger things, or we may just skip that and go right into production. But that's really kind of where the initial creative process happens. And then we'll go into production and, everything's different. Everything has different purposes and different scope and scale. We may build something and then iterate on it and get approvals on it, refine it if we're allowed those luxuries, or we'll keep moving on to where we get through delivery where we can't do testing with focus groups. We may have to just do it around that. We may have to shorten the production timeline in order to do it. It's okay. It really matters on, you got to fit to the budget, you got to fit within the time frame, and then you've got to be very agile. And so usually when we get up to the delivery point of it is where we're working with the client on how do we hand this off? How do we make sure it's a successful release? And then are we updating and managing it? Luckily, most of these web AR experiences are short and snackable. So there's not a lot of maintenance or attention that needs to happen afterwards. But quite often we'll have to work with our clients when we're done with our software, when we're done writing the software. And for instance, like one of these murals, or even with 4-H, when they deploy it, when they go out to their customers, what does that look like, and how do we support them to do that? And so a lot of that time, either we'll train their trainers on how it works, or how you need to how to have a successful launch, what is needed. For instance, doing a mural, you need to make sure there's light. AR murals don't work at night because your camera won't understand what it's looking at. So, at the beginning of the production, if we're talking about a mural, that's one of the first questions we'll ask. Where is the mural? Is it well lit? Is there lighting? Are there things in front of it? So things that we're kind of going through to make sure, what are the roadblocks ahead? And that's going to be all part of like that whole handing off and transition. Are we setting them up for success? And then I'll kind of show this one right here. Excuse me, I was about to sneeze. What does a larger production look like? So this is just kind of looking at a 12-week production. Most of the web AR experiences that we do, I would say, are in the kind of 8 to 10 week. We do some big ones too. So those are larger, but you'll kind of see we may have multiple teams working on it, where you might have developers or UI UX people working on it. You may have 3D asset developers, animators, riggers. We'll even have audio. So an audio engineer will be working with sound design and music. And then we kind of go through, we present creative, we get approvals. We may do a revision on that. We'll present 3D comps, get approvals on that. We may be getting copy from the client. So any marketing content or instructional content that they want in it, usually we want that up at the front, sometimes in the middle. And then usually when we get into the engineering and the software development side of it is really where we're going to these major milestones of an alpha or a beta, or even like the final gold test candidates. So we tend to do 2 to 3 rounds with our clients to have them see the software, how it's working. So for an alpha build, the functionality should be there, but it may have 70 or 80% of the artwork. It's not, it's not complete. We may have programmer art, and then we move for the client to see how it works, and is it working how they're expecting it to be. And then we go to a beta build, which is getting close to the final portion of it. Is it 95, 98% done? Yes, usually. More final artwork. All of the functionality is there. It should be working as expected. If we know of a bug or something like that, we tell the client, hey, this one feature is working, or it's not working. So as we're going through beta testing, everybody's aware of that. And then when you finally go into the final test in production for a final gold release, that's when we're getting final signatures. It's gone through QA. We've done all of our testing, and now we've got a release candidate. So that kind of shows you at a high level what that looks like. And then I think we have time for some Q&A. If anybody has some. So I will stop sharing and hand that back over to Pablo.
Cool. Thank you so much, Dan. Yeah, if you all have any questions, please feel free to write them in the chat. I'll go ahead and get us started with one question for you. When working, since you have so much experience working with so many different clients and levels of clients, I'm curious to know, what are some of the major differences that you've experienced when working with a nonprofit versus one of your major clients like Charles Schwab, Wells Fargo?
Yeah. There's really not an easy answer for that. Everybody's different. Sometimes the less money you have, the more a client wants to get involved. They sometimes feel like if they get involved, it's going to save them money, or it's going to help you, which is okay. But we have found that, sometimes you have to let the client know, look, let us do our job, and we're going to take care of you. We always over deliver. So, and we always let the clients know up front, look, We don't need you to micromanage us. We've got this. We're your partner. We're going to make you look good. And so a lot of that is just confirming and making them feel good about what they've done. The ones who have a lot of money, they tend to either not care at all, they're so busy doing other things, or they're going to be as critical and hyper focused as somebody who doesn't have a lot of money. There's just really no correct answer in it. Everybody's different, but what I found is, as long as you treat people with respect, and you don't treat them like you expect them to know everything. We educate all of our clients, and we have to do that because we want them to understand what they're doing. This may be their first time to do AR, and everybody's first time, they've never done it before. Everybody has the same challenges. So to us, that's the key thing, is to setting them up for success, to like help them along the road. Don't think that they know everything, because they probably don't.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it seems like it's very dependent on each experience on a client.
Well, and you know what? We have to remind our staff and our team all the time. We do this all the time, guys. They haven't done this before. Baby steps. We have to bring them along the journey. We are their partners. Let's help them along. So it's okay.
Gotcha. And then a follow-up question with regards to like your work with 4-H, for example. Have you all ever experienced any sort of challenges with making the experience inclusive, given that you work with 4-H, which is a public school focused network? And then how do you address those issues, if any?
I think we're very conscious nowadays. So all of us are very aware of who the audience is and who we're talking to. I think that's something that we have a very diverse audience within our studio, which helps a lot. Being in Texas, we always ask, is this English, or is this going to be English and Spanish? We always deal with foreign language or any culturally relevant things. So it's always stuff that we don't disregard it. We tackle up front to better understand where we're going. We rarely put humans in experiences. We do put humans in experiences, but a lot of times we don't, because that sets up, making those decisions, whether it's what other kind of sex or skin color or who, you can't make assumptions. So most of the things that we do don't really show that many humans, or we'll do a graphically styled human that you don't know if that's what sex they are, or what ethnicity they are. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha. And then one final question for me, in case anyone else has any other questions, feel free to type them down. But right now, our developers are focusing on the Hope for Haiti challenge, where they're very limited as far as, they can't travel to Haiti, obviously, and they can't go and do, gathering photos and scanning for way spots and using VPS.
Yeah.
But they do have assets in regards to some videos and some photos and some graphics that Hope for Haiti has provided. Given that information, how would you go about creating an experience for a nonprofit in that scope?
Well, I mean, I love to travel. I love to travel. I love to be able to go on location. We don't get to do that all the time. So again, it's gathering those materials that the client has given you. If they've given you videos or photos, or doing your own research, is make sure that you are at least getting the client. Are they presenting at the very end?
Yeah.
So, okay. So there may not be a lot of give and take and rounds of exchanges, but revisions, because usually what I would say is, don't make an assumption. If you found something that the client didn't give you, is to say, are you talking about something like this? We just did a thing for Dias de los Muertos. And that's not something that I grew up with. And we had to have a lot of subject matter experts come and go, okay, no, this is the flour we need to use. And this is the kind of bread that you want to put on the altar. And, we had to talk to people. So to me, I guess if you don't get a lot of access to the client, see if you know somebody within your network who can respond to anything you're doing to get some feedback before you finally present.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. So for anyone that's watching the recording for this, or for you all that are tuning in, please feel free to reach out to me. I can put you in contact with someone from the Hope for Haiti team so that they can help answer any of your questions that you may have. And we do have a question from Camilo now, who's asking, you showed the timeline in which you said it was a team of people working. In our case, we are alone. How should we organize ourselves? I feel like that's easier, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, organize. So just start to plan. You might want to reverse engineer it going, okay, if I've got something due in 2 weeks or 8 weeks, I've got to work backwards, right? Because you have a deadline. All deadlines are, they don't move. So for us, we always put together a production plan, even if it's a small one. If it's big, it's really important. But even on small ones, you have to understand, I can only spend 1 week on this component of it because I've got to start moving into the next phase of, I've done some creative. I need to work on some of the software development. I got to leave time for testing. So even if you're one person, you got to put together a plan. So
good to know. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have any further questions, Camila. I hope that helps. If anyone else has any questions for Dan, or if you have questions regarding the Hope for Haiti Challenge, I'll give you all a couple seconds to type them down. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and wrap up.
Cool. Well, this stuff is always fun to do. And we are always learning. So for us, don't make assumptions, be open and honest with yourself and your client, and try to do something unexpected.
Yeah. While we wait, I do have a question regarding one of the things that a lot of community members in Eighth Wall ask me in particular is, how do you bring up the conversation of the licensing with a client, especially since it is in often cases a big number and a surprise. Where do you bring that up, and
we do it at the very beginning? And this is the way we look at it: is you're hiring us. Here our costs are for creative and production. So we always tackle that, and then we say, because we're using Eighth Wall, it's a third-party SDK. There is a licensing use for that. Here's what that is. Every time we show that in any kind of presentation. Here's our costs. Here's the Eighth Wall costs. And so they understand, if I want to run this for 1 month or 6 months or a year, or I'm going to have a lot of people or a little amount of people, there's all kinds of different ways to scale that, but we always show them that we need it and there's a benefit to it.